Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. Oh goodness, it is such a beautiful day out here today. I'm looking forward to getting started on the garden. I am feeling so behind. I've not started any seeds. I don't have the extra soil in my beds yet. I'm hoping that this is going to be a good gardening year, but I've got to get on it here pretty soon. I need to clean out the greenhouse, get it ready to start my seeds, and all the things. We've definitely got the weather for it today, but we've been busy with a few other things and I haven't been able to get outside and do any work. So in this video today, I am sharing the next segment for March Canning Madness. It is another version of apple butter. After that, I am sharing a box opening of sorts of a goodie box that I get every few months from Israel. So I'm going to show you what came in that. And then at the end, I am going to share an update and already some changes to the plans for the kitchen. So I will join you back here in a little bit. Alright friends, so the recipe that I'm sharing with y'all today for March Canning Madness is for cranberry apple butter. I made this recipe the same day that I made the caramel apple butter recipe, and it starts off with 8 pounds of Granny Smith apples that are cored, peeled, and chopped into pieces. I put the apple pieces into a large non-reactive pot, which means no aluminum and no copper that touch the food. I simmered them together with 4 cups of water until the apples were nice and tender, and then I pureed them with my immersion blender. I added in 3½ cups of granulated sugar, 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I just gave those all a stir. And then I began chopping up some dried cranberries. Now you can use sweetened or unsweetened cranberries, although it seems to have gotten kind of hard to find the unsweetened dried cranberries. These ones I got from As Your Standard, and they are sweetened with apple juice. So I'm just going to give these a rough chop. So I'm using 2 cups of the dried cranberries. Now the day I was making this cranberry apple butter, I knew I was not going to have time to cook this thing down that day. And so after I chopped up all the cranberries and had everything ready to go for the cook down stage, rather than cooking them in this great big pot like I did the caramel apple butter, so I went ahead and I transferred all of the cranberry apple butter over to my slow cooker. This is that handy little Presto slow cooker that I got some time ago. So I'm carefully pouring the hot apple butter mixture over to my slow cooker insert, getting every last bit out of the pan. Now because I was cooking this overnight, I just put it on the warm setting with the lid cracked open with a spoon. If you were doing this during the day where you could stir it and monitor it, you could just cook it on low or even on high as long as you monitor it well. So the next morning I got up and I washed all of my jars, washed the lids, washed my canning tools, and had the jars for the apple butter heating up in my steam canner there. Now that is some nice thick apple butter. Look at that spoon standing at attention. Another way that you can test to see if your apple butter is done is to drop a little bit into a cold spoon, and you'll see that's nice and thick and it doesn't go anywhere. Look at that. Beautiful apple butter. And delicious, I might add. So I'm transferring my apple butter back over to a big pot, and I'm going to bring it up to a gentle simmer just to make sure it is nice and hot. To be honest, I probably could have done this right out of the slow cooker without heating it back up to a higher temperature, but it never hurts to be cautious. My jars were inspected, washed, and heated. All of my other canning supplies were washed and ready to go. Now I usually like to do a combination of pint jars and half pint jars, and I'm going to ladle these up to a 1/2 inch headspace, which is the distance between the top of the jar to the top of the food. Give it a stir to get out the air bubbles. Wipe the rim of the jar very well with a damp cloth that's dipped in vinegar. Add a lid, which I always preheat, even though they say you don't have to. Put on a ring, finger tight. And into the canner. And just repeat this with all the rest of the cranberry apple butter. Depending upon how much moisture there is that cooks out of your apples, this recipe usually makes somewhere between 5 and 6 pints of the cranberry apple butter. On this particular day, I got 5.5, plus a partial jar that I already stuck in the fridge. Now the processing time for this cranberry apple butter is 15 minutes, and you do want to adjust that for your elevation if you live at an elevation higher than 1,000 feet. I have an article on my website, and I'll link it in the video description down below, that explains exactly how to do that. Now if you're canning this apple butter in a hot water bath canner, when the timer goes off, you'll turn off the stove and go ahead and take off the lid, but let the jar sit there for 5 minutes before you take them out and transfer them to your cooling surface. With a steam canner, you're going to turn off the stove, but you're going to leave the lid on for 5 minutes, then take it off and transfer your jars over to a lined surface that's in a draft-free location, and then allow your jars to cool for at least 12 hours. I just let them go overnight. And with all of my preserves, the next day I remove the rings, I test the seals, And then I wash all of my jars with soapy water with a splash of vinegar in it. It helps get any hard water film off of the jars, but more importantly, it gets any traces of food off the jars. You don't want your home canned goods to have sugars or bits of fruit or vegetable or anything else around the edge of that lid, because over time it'll get really gross. I learned that the hard way a long time ago when I was a brand new canner, because not only do the jars get gross, but it might also attract pests to your pantry, and that's the last thing you want. Dry off the jars and label them, and they're ready for the pantry. This cranberry apple butter was so thick and so delicious. You will absolutely love it. You can get the recipe for this on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com. You can find the printable version of this along with over 800 other recipes. This is a subscription box that I started getting a few months ago. Now last year I had subscribed to one called Hev La'olam, I think it was called. And that was a monthly box that came, and I think it was monthly. And I subscribed to that one for a year. It is goodies from Israel, and that's what this one is as well. This one is called Artza, and I subscribed to this one for a year as well. Now every box has a topic or a theme, both the Lev Ha'olam version and this one. Right on the cover of the box it says Artza, which is the brand, the Holy Land Delivered, and this one is Exploring Genesis. And so all of the things that are in this box are things from Israel. And I have not gone through this box yet. I unsealed the tape, but I thought I would just go through it with y'all and you can see what I see. Now, I do want to mention that I am not affiliated with these businesses at all. This isn't sponsored or anything like this. This subscription is just something that I treated myself with, and it's just something that I enjoy. Okay, let's see here. All right, so first thing here out of the box, we have the Holy Land Delivered, Exploring Genesis. And so it's got a welcome, the locations. So all of the things that are in here come from different parts of Israel. And so this talks about the locations where these things came from. It goes over the contents of the box, the stories of the people who make the things that you're receiving. And then there's a little section called Hebrew Learning. And then there's usually a couple of recipes in the very back. So I'll look at that later. All right, so the first thing we have here is a box of chocolates. It says milk chocolate treats, Israeli almonds and sea salt. It says chocolatiers for 3 generations. All right, so we got that. All right, this is a mixture for challah coating. So the sprinkling that you put on challah bread if you want that. So that sounds interesting. I'll have to give that a try on some challah here pretty soon. All right, what do we have here? All right, we have Hava coated peanuts. What is Hava? Oh, okay, so Hava is a sesame paste, kind of like tahini, I believe. So that is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Mr. Smith loves when these boxes come because there's always some sort of treats in there, and he loves to raid the treats. All right, let's see what else we have. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, Bereshit, as the first word in Genesis. It houses the mystery behind the commencement of time, space, and existence as dictated by God's will. 6 whole days of creation culminate in the Sabbath, a day of rest and sanctity. He spoke, and it was, establishing the foundation for the world and humanity. Everything except the Creator must have its beginning. Oop. Oh, so this is actually like a little journal. So it has January, and there's scriptures throughout here. The paper that this is made out of is really nice. It's almost like a parchment or a cloth almost. So that's pretty neat. It's a little journal. You done, baby? Okay. And I see there's another little box down here. It has about the artist or the creator on the back there. Let's see, what is this? Oh, it is a framed piece of art. Oh, there you go. So this is pretty. You've got, it's like paper art where you have the layers in there. It looks like an olive tree maybe. And then there's some writing in there, which I'll have to look up and see what that says. Got a bird tucked in there. And this here is in the shape of modern day Israel. Actually, on the box here, it says what it says in the print. It says, "Our Father in heaven, rock and redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy." That is neat. Sounds like a prayer we could all pray over our own nation. All right, let's see what else is in here. Looks like there's 2 more things. And they are wrapped in bubble wrap here. Let's see. Hold on, baby. I love you, baby. So this is 7 Days of Creation serving tray. Inspired by the story of Genesis, this exquisite serving tray features 7 panels, each depicting a day of creation through stunning artwork. From the first light to the creation of humanity, each panel tells a portion of the story, bringing the beauty and wonder of the creation story to life. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? It says down here, Emmanuel, God with us. Okay, and then the last thing is this right here. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. Genesis 1 and 4. So this is from the same artist who created the serving tray. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? I love candle holders. I have a small collection of them because I like to light a candle for Shabbat on Friday evenings. Well, 1 or 2 candles. It just depends upon what I choose for a candle holder that week. There isn't a biblical mandate for it, but it is a nice tradition that makes a special moment of bringing in the Sabbath, the Shabbat. right, friends, so that is the Artza Box that I get, and you know, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I'm not paid to talk about them. I just get those shipments, and I thought maybe it would be interesting to share that with you guys, what was in there. The Cranberry Apple Butter recipe is on my website. I will put a link to that in the video description down below, where you can print that recipe out if you like. And then as far as the kitchen renovation goes, I already got my new faucet, which I'm so excited about. I did not actually know they made ones quite like this, so I'm gonna love showing it to you when it comes time to actually work on the kitchen. My new sink came in. Now, I went back and forth on keeping the sink that's in there or not. I love drain board sinks. I've always loved them. Ours is a little bit beat up. I contemplated taking it out, sanding it down, and just refinishing it and keeping it. And I would if it wasn't that the bowl of the sink was so shallow. It's such a small sink. It makes it really difficult to do much of anything. And I had actually looked up a new one like that with a deeper bowl, you know, a more functional sink. But y'all, I'm just not ready to pay $1,200 for a sink, because that's about what they were costing. I just couldn't stomach doing that. So instead, I ordered a nice, big, deep farmhouse sink. And so that's what I'm going to be putting in there in the kitchen. I've already got it. The order already came in, so it's tucked away in the workshop for when it comes time to work on the kitchen. I also changed my mind about doing the custom piece. I was going to build a piece that was basically like a cabinet with a butcher block top, but it wasn't going to look like the rest of our butcher block countertops. I was going to make it with a dark top, all of it dark wood, have a space below the normal countertop height for storage, and then below that have another countertop that slid out and slid back in, like almost like a pocket door, but a counter. And I had the design in my head. I knew exactly how I was going to build it. But after I put my old antique table with the drop leaves in the kitchen, I realized I really like having that table in the kitchen. It's the one that I had in the kitchen in Alabama. I love that table. And so rather than building a custom piece to fill in that space, I'm going to go ahead and have just the normal countertop go all the way across, put extra storage space underneath. I think I'm going to do just drawers, because I've got plenty of cabinets, but drawers just make things tidier. So there'll be one new cabinet on that side of the kitchen in the corner, and it'll leave just enough space between the end of the counter and everything and the refrigerator that I can slide the trash can in there, so it'll have its own little nook to sit in and be out of the way. And doing the cabinets like that, having just the butcher block go all the way across and all of that, over on the end of the kitchen where the doorway goes, you know, out into the rest of the house, there will be just enough space for me to place that antique table, and it won't take up too much space because it's not as deep as a countertop would be, and so I think it'll fit in there perfectly. And when I need it, I can raise up the leaf and use it. And when I don't need it, I can just lower it down and just have the pretty table in there. So I think it'll work. And I think it will be a little bit more functional. Now, I don't know when the next phase of construction work will actually begin. I'm going to get the countertop first. And instead of leaving it the raw acacia wood, I'm actually going to stain it and give it a darker finish. And then later on, I'm going to do the same with the countertops on the other side of the kitchen so that it all matches, because I love the acacia wood. I love having wood countertops, but the busyness of the unstained acacia wood with just the gloss on it, it's too busy for me. And I would rather have it stained, so you'll still see the color variation in the acacia wood, but it will be toned down a little bit. So that is the plan. I will probably actually go get the countertop this week or maybe next week, depending upon the weather, I think it is supposed to start storming tomorrow. So I will get it, I will stain it, have it ready to go so that when we're ready to do the next phase, we will. I've already done the research on how to rework the plumbing under the sink and all of that. And so I've got all of the things that I need in my cart on the Home Depot app because I get a military discount there. So, but that's it, you guys. Thanks for joining me here again at the homestead. My name is Constance from Cosmopolitan Cornbread. God bless, and I'll talk to y'all next time.